Welcome to Books and Beyond with That Guy Jay. I am your host, That Guy Jay, and this week I am joined by one of my mutuals from TikTok, Abe. Abe is a bookish creator. He is a connoisseur of all things fall vibes. He has actually done a ton of research over the summer to give us some of the best recommendations. I can't wait to get into it. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Now, I start everybody with this question. It's just an easy icebreaker. What are you currently reading?
So, I'm currently reading a book called Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match. I have been really into Frankenstein retellings this year. I actually haven't started it, but it is the book that is happening today. Um, I think it's kind of like a middle grade horror, which is always fun as well. But yeah, big Frankenstein vibes this year.
I like that. I like that. And have you always been a reader, or is this something like an adult life that you got into?
So I have always been a reader and I never really stopped reading. When I was a kid, I picked up like the Magic Tree House and like the 39 Clues or whatever that was called and would like I would get my books taken away at night so I wouldn't just stay up until it was time to go to school. Um so yeah, I've reading has been like one of my favorite consistents in my life.
Yes, I refused to read in high school.
Really.
Like, drove my mom crazy with it. I would just read Cliff Notes because I'm old enough where that was a thing, and
Mhm.
always did my summer reading assignments the last day of summer, the night before they were due. And I got into reading when I was like 20,
Mhm.
and I think, I mean, I was so bad that I went back and apologized to my high school English teacher. I was like, I was such a jerk. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you got into it. I think it's a really important like skill to really try developing with like reading comprehension and just like being able to understand like pages and paragraphs of text.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think that reading is so important, and I think a lot of people don't even realize how much you can learn from fiction. You don't have
Absolutely.
you don't have to read nonfiction to be learning things. It's like I've read some horror books that really explore, you know, humanity way
Yes.
better than some self help books I've read.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like people who aren't super in the like bookish community sometimes will like judge people for reading mainly or primarily fantasy and I or fiction, not nonfiction or memoirs, which I do read sometimes. I enjoy some of them, but there's kind of like a hierarchy within readers sometimes where they're judgmental of you for only reading fiction books. But I feel like I can learn just as much from those.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it kind of breaks down too, where some people they don't view fiction as worth it, and then
Yeah,
there's people who don't think that genre fiction is worth it. It's only the classics and lit fic, and it's like, no,
for sure.
you can absolutely learn from all of them. And
Yes,
I think
yes.
I'm newer to horror actually because I was not an enjoyer of horror growing up. I watched a movie called Dolls when I was 7 with my older sister, and it absolutely terrified me to the point that I didn't watch another horror movie until 10 years later. Like,
That is
I
so fair.
I
That's
was
terrifying.
so scared, and I haven't read a ton of horror until the last couple years. I've been getting into it
Hmm.
more, and it's a lot of fun. There's so many fantastic books out there.
Yeah, I feel like I also am newer to horror until like I started college like 6-ish years ago. I was like just terrified and I'm someone who has like the most anxiety as possible. And even like in the first I had stopped watching the first Toy Story movie because of the doll with the legs and I was like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that's too much. That's too far. But now I'm like
I've
very into horror.
I've found that horror books are more approachable because I think so many horror movies rely on, like, cheap jump scares
Yeah.
that you're constantly kind of worried about when that's gonna come,
Hmm.
and horror books can't really, jump scare you like that, so it seems like a kind of easier to get into, and it's more focused on the story and less about, um, kind of the jump scares and special effects and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. It gets to the point of like it really gets to the root of what terror is and how to like truly scare someone without having to use like cheap tricks like that.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and now I know in general you spent the summer doing research for all of us on BookTok, so you could give us fall vibe recommendations. I would love to hear a
Hmm.
little bit more about your process for that and some of the things you've come up with.
Sure. I actually brought over a stack of some of my favorites in case I needed props. So I started reading and prepping for autumn at the end of July. I got a little like trigger happy on NetGalley and just just like requested a ton of autumn arc books, and they started coming in at the end of July. So basically, like July 25th on, I've just been reading autumn books. I try to like separate them out into different genres within autumn, just to have like my like true horror, or like I have like a folklore horror, gothic horror, that kind of thing. And sorry, my brain just emptied.
Okay.
um, I always I have specific criteria that I like to try to meet to consider a book a fall book or an autumn book or a Halloween book. And I feel like the fall and autumn books don't always aren't always Halloween books, but most Halloween books can also be autumn and fall books. And I like to read seasonally, so I like to be able to read things about like the nature changing, the like colorful leaves, how you got your first crisp breeze of the season. So yeah, fall is like my favorite seasonal reading for this.
Yeah, I've never been one to do a ton of seasonal reading other than fall. Every fall
Yeah.
I do, like, I crave the spooky vibes and
Hmm.
and just fall related stories. I'm
Yeah,
spring and summer, I don't really find myself doing the same thing, but I think fall is my favorite season. I know,
me too.
I think most people deep
I think
down they
so.
love fall. Fall is the best.
It really is. It has like the best like nostalgia vibes for me of like being a kid and all the decorations like my mom would put up, and just like reading all these fall books really helps me like get into that like cozy inner child space.
Yeah, I like that. Now, what were some of the standouts from the NetGalley journey that you went on?
So one of my favorites that I initially read on NetGalley was Salem's Fall by Rectech Ross. Um, it is like a horror romance, like a horror mance book with a little bit of like darker elements to it as well. It follows an attorney, and she gets hired to defend this guy who is on trial for like murdering his girlfriend, and they actually uncover some really deep like cult roots to these murders and these like scary rituals that they're putting on behind the facade of just like a wealthy family. And I yeah, that's definitely a standout because I think a lot of books are like very surface level like plot, but when you actually get to uncover with the author or with the main character like these deeper layers of the plot, that just like really turns me.
That sounds really good. And is that one out already, or is that one that's gonna
Yes.
be released?
That one I believe came out August 5th. It is
Okay.
on Kindle Unlimited. And then they also have the paperback copy as well. Um, I think it's on Amazon. I got sent the copy from the author, but if the author is Rectech Ross, and if other people were interested in that, I'm sure she has links that are better for her payment wise.
Yeah. I do love that how many of these books end up being on Kindle Unlimited, though. It is
Hmm.
such a fantastic thing. I don't utilize my Kindle, nearly enough, but Kindle Unlimited is such a good tool. Like,
It really is.
if you have limited space for books, like, my shelves are getting kinda full. I'm, like,
Yes.
reevaluating, like, I should probably get more digital copies.
Definitely, definitely. I feel like um so I got pretty sick like over a year ago, and basically had to like quit my job and just stay home, and Kindle Unlimited was sponsoring that. I swear I would read like 6 or 7 books in a week off KU cuz that was like all I had time for, and I think this is like bursting at its seams at this point.
It's such a fun way to discover, new authors as well. One of my favorite things, I've said this a ton on the podcast, but one of my favorite things about Book Talk is getting to see so many indie authors and
Yes.
learn about so many books that, otherwise I would have had no clue about. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about the Book Talk community is also people love to support indie authors, which is like very refreshing to see.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. before I got onto BookTok, because I didn't do TikTok at all before I started my BookTok really. Besides, like right after high school, I posted some dumb videos on like a private account that actually got hacked last week. But
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, they started posting ads on it. But Kindle, oh wait, sorry, indie authors, yes. I like never would have found out about any of these indie authors if it weren't for places like BookTok or Bookstagram. Because before you would just go into like a Barnes and Noble or a library or your bookstore, and you'd see primarily like really popular traditionally published authors, and
Yeah.
their books are incredible. But seeing the community like really like rally together to uplift indie authors is so awesome. I love it.
I think indie authors, you have such a greater ability to find more diversity because traditional publishing is lagging a little bit in terms of who they decide to publish. And I mean, in types of stories, in the authors, like you can really find whatever you want out there in the indie space.
You really can. And yeah, the diversity is a really incredible point about indie authors because traditional publishers don't want to publish diverse authors and diverse stories more than like their standard, like cis, white, hetero stories that are primarily published.
Yeah.
And being able to like platform indie authors who would not traditionally be accepted into publishing spaces has been so incredible, I think, for the whole community as well.
Yeah, I think so. I really think so as well. And I think that it's cool to see some of these indie authors have become so like undeniable that they end up getting traditionally published because they can't be ignored anymore. Like Legends in Latte comes to mind. Like that
Yes.
really took off, and like there was so much support behind that. And that was such a
Hmm.
cute and fun story
It
too.
is. It's the best. Yeah, Legend and Lattes was like what got me into like coziness and like especially like cozy reading because I'd been reading like right before I started Legends and Lattes, I had read The Exorcist, which my hot take is that the book is incredibly better than the movie. Even though the movie's great, The Exorcist book is genuinely terrifying. But Legends and Lattes was like kind of like just hitting the scene and it hadn't been traditionally published yet, and reading that I would it just like completely expanded. So I'm really excited to see other indie authors that take up similar space like that and are able to bring things like other genres that we haven't really seen before into traditional publishing as well.
Yeah. Legends in Latte is like I guess I think that was my first cozy read, and I didn't really understand like the appeal of cozy, and then I was like, "Oh,
Right.
this is really lovely." It's just so
Mhm.
relaxing, and I guess for some people, maybe they wouldn't like how low stakes it is, but it is kind of
Right.
nice to just get to know characters. And I've discovered this about myself this year. 2025 has been the year of slice of life for me. I love slice of life stories. Like it doesn't have to have big grand things happening to be fantastic. Like one of my favorite reads of the year was a book called Stoner,
What's that
and
about?
you follow this guy from his late teens at the end of the 1800s. He's in rural Missouri. He grew up on a farm, and his dad sends him to college to learn more about agriculture. And while there, he discovers that he loves English, and he changes to an English major, then gets his master's degree, and then becomes a professor. And it's just from when he was like 18 until his death, and you just follow him throughout his life. And like in one sense, he kind of has a very unremarkable life. Like he isn't particularly great as a professor. He's not a great husband. He's not a great father. But you just follow him through this journey of like watching him get old, and literally, you follow him until the end of his life. And it's just so interesting for me because it was like it really kind of makes you have to be comfortable with like how mundane life can be sometimes,
Right.
and like how like you just get into these patterns of like you are kind of just going through the motions.
Yeah. And I feel like slice of life books like that, first of all, that sounds so lovely, but you really get to like appreciate the small things in life that can be beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it'll just be like someone making his coffee and he's like appreciating the scent of the grinds and just all of the process that goes into it, and you're really able to just kind of like see that within your own life as well, because we're not all leading these epic fantasy adventures. We're
Right.
just regular people doing regular things, and that's still beautiful.
It is, and, I know you mentioned you got sick, and I got injured,
Mhm.
8 years ago, so I'm also home a lot. That's kind of my life is dealing with chronic pain and, not knowing when the good and bad days are gonna be, but it kind of feels more relatable because I don't have the most exciting life anymore, but it is so interesting to see how other people exist, in the day-to-day aspect.
Yeah, and I think especially with Legends and Lattes in particular, she was the main character was this, like, crazy orc adventure, barbarian, I'm assuming, was kind of her class, and then
Yeah.
she just has to step back from it all and just live a small life, and I think especially like how you got injured and I kind of like spontaneously got sick. It's like very similar with your life is one thing and from it is beautiful and it can be epic, but then you really just have to like truly scale back. And it's really good to read books that like help you recognize those little moments in your own life, even if it feels small.
Yeah. Did you read the prequel, to Legends and Latte? What I think it's,
Yes, bookshops and
Bookshops
bone
and Bone
dust.
Dust. Yeah.
I did.
I
I
I
read that
like
last. It's so good.
I liked that one as well too, especially because she got injured in it, and I was like,
Yes. You're
"Hey."
like, "I see this."
Yes.
I know I love reading books when they're spontaneously, like, representation of, like, my disability or something. I'm like, "Let's go."
Yeah, and again, I think that's something that the indie space does really well, and representation does matter. It really
It
does,
really
and
does.
it's awesome to see.
Mhm.
And it's, it's like I've figured out through the years, like, the Spoonie community and learning more about, you know, people who have disabilities, and it's like, it's not you can't plan for this, and
Right.
it really does, completely changes your life, and it's cool to see that you can still be in stories. Someone like you
Yeah.
can still exist.
Yeah, absolutely. With disability, it's kind of like the one, um, like, minority that anyone can get into at any time, like, just
Yeah.
randomly out of nowhere, and being able to find yourself in books like that can be so validating because like I know personally I only have like one or two friends in real life that have my same disability, but being able to read a book and see that represented is just like so validating.
Yeah, and kind of encouraging in a way too, because you get
Hmm.
to see that because with a disability, some days are hard, like
Yes,
mentally and physically, and seeing these people still live, beautiful and fulfilling lives is like it's nice to see.
it really is. It really is.
Because and I think for me, I have technically I have it's called CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome,
Hmm.
and it's so hard to describe to people too because it's like I'll have a bad day and it's like, "What caused it?" And it's like, "I don't know, like, it rained yesterday, maybe that."
Literally, it's been a rainy weekend and all my joints are like, ah, please.
I've started to notice it's like every time the seasons change, the first couple weeks of the change are usually rough. And it
It
doesn't matter
is.
if it's going from, like, hot to cold or cold to hot or whatever it is, it's just the change seems to be an issue.
Absolutely. I think it has to do with like the barometric pressure or something. I've seen like people online in the chronic illness community call it like October slide because as we're like transitioning into winter, all of our like illnesses are just instantly starting to flare up from the temperature changes. And I mean, we're all in it together though.
Yeah. I saw an article about that last week. I'm trying to remember. I think it was somewhere on Instagram. Somebody sent it to me, and I had never even heard of that. But as like
Right.
that felt great too because I was like, oh yeah, I'm not alone. Like we are all struggling right now.
Exactly. Yeah. I found out about it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I was like, that makes more sense why I suddenly feel way worse than I usually do.
Yeah, and I think for me, I kind of took a break from reading heavily in the first couple years that I was injured.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, that was probably just depression and trying to
Yeah.
accept new reality and all that fun
Yeah.
stuff. But
Mhm.
it has become such an amazing escape for the bad days. getting to disappear into a book doesn't take the pain away, but it's like if I'm stuck in bed all day, it is certainly a much nicer way to pass 4 or 5 hours than just trying to endlessly watch TV shows. It's
Mhm.
more rewarding, it's more entertaining.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes when you are having, like, a flare day and it's, like, genuinely, like, a bed day, like, where you really don't have much choice besides being in bed or, like, on the couch, sometimes movies and TV can, like, be really draining for some reason,
Yeah.
and reading is, like, such the perfect activity for those flare days because you get to experience, like, storytelling and, obviously escapism to, like, pass your time without having to feel the fatigue of, like, watching movies and TV show all day.
Now, have you ever tried immersive reading?
Is that where you, like, listen to the audiobook while reading at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah.
I I do that for Shakespeare. Whenever I because I enjoy reading Shakespeare, but if I'm just looking at the text, I have no idea what it's saying, so I always have to listen to, like, a recording of it. But
I've I've gotten heavy into immersive reading. Like almost all of my reads are immersive now.
really? That's
L-
so
Li-
cool.
Libby kind of determines my reading order now because whenever my holds come in,
Yes.
but I have found, especially on like the high pain days, it really kind of like locks my focus in because it's easy for my mind to wander if I'm just reading, and it's real easy for my mind to wander if I'm just listening because I'll literally just go somewhere
Sure.
else in my head. But like when I'm doing both, it's I feel like I get fully locked in whether I want to be distracted or not. I can't be like
That's a really good idea. I'll have to try that the next time I'm not feeling well. Because yeah, I get distracted sometimes when I'm just reading and, like, kind of feeling shitty, but
yeah.
I'll have to try that. That sounds really good.
Yeah, I've noticed that, not that reading is a race, but, like, it has
Sure.
increased my reading speed, but more than that, it's helped with my, reading comprehension, like,
Yes.
I'm retaining more of it. Now, the second I'm done with a book, it all goes away, unfortunately, like,
Immediately out. If I don't write my Goodreads review within 2 hours, it's not getting one.
especially character names. Like,
Oh my
overall
god.
storylines, I'm good, but
Sure.
character names, the second the book is over, they're gone.
I know, and if I were to pick it up again, I'd suddenly remember all of them, but if it's
Yeah,
not in the hand, I have no idea.
I read a ton of series, so it's like I take long breaks sometimes, and people have asked me, "Is like, oh, how do you remember it all?" It's like I don't. It
I
comes back
don't.
to me. Like I get a couple chapters in, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was I forgot about him."
Mhm. Yeah, people will be like, "Oh, you read, like, 10 books a month. How do you remember anything?" I don't. I remember
Yeah.
nothing.
Well, I mean, and that's part of it too. Is that like none of us are taking a test.
Exactly.
We don't have to retain the information that
Mhm.
way, and I I I find that so interesting too in modern times where there's a lot of like naysayers that are like, "Oh, how could you possibly read 100 books a year?" But it's like you watch hundreds of episodes of shows. Like,
Exactly.
do you remember every
Exactly.
character?
Right, like, you binged this series in, like, 2 days. That's my version of speed reading.
Yeah,
Like, you're not gonna remember anything either. I'm just the reading it with my, like, with words instead of watching someone do it.
it's so funny how much society has shifted there. Where it's like binge watching an entire season of Stranger Things in one weekend is completely acceptable. But if you
Mhm.
read 4 books that weekend, people are like, "Oh, well, you didn't really
You
read it," and
didn't
it's like,
read it.
"Well, I guess."
Yes, it's very frustrating. I'm very happy to have surrounded myself with people who don't act like that. I feel like I would just have to pull up if they ever did. I'm like, "No."
Yeah. Well,
I've
I think
had Sorry, go for
again, I
it.
think that's a great thing about book talk is being able to find so many like-minded people in the bookish space because reading can be kind of niche, and reading fantasy and reading some of these more specific genres is like even more niche, and it's like I don't
Right.
know a ton of people that read a lot of fantasy in real life.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like if I meet people in real life who are readers, they usually read Brandon Sanderson, and I'm not sure if that's because I live in Utah, where he was from, and I think he went to school here, but, I mean, no shame, I'm sure his fantasy books are incredible, but there's so much else out there too that is just as incredible, and I'm like, "Ah, I wanna give you a whole extra list outside of his Sandon universe," whatever he calls it.
Yeah, I enjoy Sanderson. I do have to say though, like I started the Stormlight Archive, I
Mhm.
read book one, and It was good. I did like it a lot, but, like, looking back, it's also over 1,000 pages,
Oh my god.
and, like, the first 800 were kind of just world building, and then everyone calls it the Sanderlanche. The last 150 pages get really good, and it's like, but shouldn't all of it be good?
Yes,
And
exactly.
I did like it, but I also
Sure.
didn't rush. I haven't read book 2 yet.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it's like the same thing with, like, Tolkien and his descriptions. It's like, these books could be, like, so much shorter if we had, like, 20 less pages of describing tree bark. Like
Yeah, and maybe cut out some of the songs.
I know, because what am I supposed to do when I'm reading a book and there's lyrics for a song? I come up with a little diddle, and it's like
Yeah,
it's crazy.
it is. And I think I like The Hobbit more.
Mhm.
I think it's way more approachable. Like,
Mm,
I've actually recommended
definitely.
that to people who wanna get into fantasy because I think a lot of people assume that all of his books are heavy, but it's like The Hobbit's kinda YA. It's
Yeah, totally.
pretty chill, and it's, like, a fun way to get into fantasy and see, like, classic fantasy.
Yeah, especially, like, when you're just getting into fantasy, it's I think it's really cool to try to read The Hobbit first because, like, basically Tolkien books helped build the foundation of fantasy literature as it is today. So by reading, like, a classic book like that, you're seeing where a lot of these genre tropes, like, started, which is also cool.
Yeah. Now, I've also noticed in your content that you very much are into setting the vibe for when you're reading, and I really appreciate those videos. I love to see how intentional you are with the things around you, not just the
Mhm.
book. Um, where did that come from? I'd love to hear more about that. Like, what made you think to set the scene the way you do?
So, I am a theater kid. I've done theater since I was, like, 8 or 9 was for my first show, and with that, I've also loved, like, creating a scene, and growing up used, like, scene creating as an escapism from, like, depression and, like, the bad things, and, like, designing a space with that kind of thing in mind. So, like, in high school, I read, like, the Mortal Instruments series a lot. So I would, like, try to make my room look like how the rooms looked in the books. And I kinda carry that with me today by choosing, like, a candle that I think would smell like something that matches with the book, and then putting, like, an ambience video on, like, my desktop or my TV wherever I am, and getting the lighting just right. I feel like it just enhances the cozy, like, tenfold, and it makes me really just wanna sit and read within the space. And sometimes when I don't do, like, scene setting or whatever, I'm not inclined to stay there for as long as I would and keep reading, like, I'll go do something else. So, yeah, I love setting the scene.
I love that. No, because I noticed that right away when I started following you is that you're very much
Mhm.
always making choices to enhance the reading setup, and I was like, "Oh, I like that. That's I should try that more. I need to get more candles." My daughter recently has gotten into having candles in her room, and I'm like, "Oh, I maybe I need to get a couple scents
Yeah.
myself."
You gotta go together. Gotta go get candles together. I
Yeah.
like going sometime I lived with my stepdad for a couple months, and he and I would just go to, like, Walmart or Target in the candle section and just smell candles for, like, 30 minutes. It's
Yeah,
it's
she
good
loves,
bonding.
what is it? Why can't I remember the name of the store? It's at, like, every mall.
Like Bath& and Body Works.
Yes, there we go.
Mhm.
Totally slipped my mind, but yeah, she loves to go in there and smell the candles.
I have a bag
Yeah.
right next to me.
Yeah, they had a sale last month where they had the 3 wick candles, and I got a few for her.
Mhm.
She's
Yeah.
into it. It's funny too because she's very into, um, like, coffee scented candles or,
Mm.
like, very, like, earthy, like, leather and whiskey, and I'm like,
Nice.
I get into those too, and I'm like, I expected her, like, to get something more, like, fresh, and she's like, "Nope, I want the coffee or the hot cocoa," and I'm like, "Alright,
How old is
I can
she?
get down with." She's 16.
I love that. Yeah, she's getting into those more, like, mature scents that are they're just so, like, rich scents.
Yeah,
I love that.
And they really do. It's amazing how much, other, like, sensory input can really change the vibes or how something feels.
Mhm.
Because it's like,
When
even we can't control it, but, like, a rainy day is the best time to read in bed. It
it
just
just
is.
is. It just is. I will cancel my plans if it's raining and I'm staying in bed and I'm popping through books with the windows open so I can hear and smell the rain.
And with the potential to, like, maybe take a 45-minute nap somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah,
It's like the perfect day.
it really is. I love a mid-reading nap, and then you wake up and you're like, "Oh, I'm in the middle of a chapter. Let me keep going."
Now,
It's
what are
perfect.
some of your other, um, favorite fall musts other than books? Like,
Mm.
what else should people be doing this fall?
So, one of my favorite things, and this is definitely dependent on where you live, but I've been fortunate enough to live in places that have good autumns, is spending time outside. That is like one of my favorite ways to celebrate any season, really, but particularly autumn, because you're watching nature go into hibernation and go into sleep, and it's entering their own cozy phase. So by being out within that, it's kind of like reminding you to like slow down your life for these colder months, and just like, I don't know, I think being in nature is the best. Um Similarly, like, you got to go to the pumpkin patch, you got to go pick some apples, and like the grocery store near me that I go to just put up like a bunch of spiders on the side of their building by their like pumpkin display. And even if you're just going to the grocery store for a pumpkin, like that's still peak fall experience in my opinion.
Yeah. I asked this in a TikTok recently. Apple cider or pumpkin flavored fall? Which is the go-to flavor for you?
Well, I I can get very sick of pumpkin very quickly if I just like balls to the wall pumpkin right into fall, then I'll like get turned off of it for like the rest of the season if I have way too much. So I alternate. I alternate. Food, I usually try to do like the apple flavored, and then I like my drinks pumpkiny. Like I'm drinking a uh pumpkin cold brew right now. But yeah.
Yeah, that was actually, I think, the most common answer was that for drinks, pumpkin, and for foods, apple cider.
Mhm. I've been wanting
Apples
to I've seen a apple cider cookie recipe, like how the donuts have like the sugar crumble on the outside. Someone made like an apple cider donut cookie. That will be happening soon in my kitchen.
That sounds fantastic. I recently found the Flips pretzels. They're usually chocolate covered,
Hmm.
but they were apple cider flavored
Whoa.
pretzels. They were amazing. That bag did not last long in this house.
Wow. I will be looking for something similar. That sounds
Yeah,
incredible.
it was
That
really
sounds like
good.
a good fall reading snack, if I say
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
myself. Get you a fall book, apple cider pretzels, a drink, you're set.
Yeah, that's a perfect reading snack.
Yeah. What's your favorite reading snack, or like your go-to?
It's tough because, then I don't wanna touch the pages, but popcorn.
Yeah. That's that's a great point. I like get the individual, like, prepackaged popcorn and kinda just, like, dump it so I don't have to use my fingers.
Yeah, it's like 'cause at that point, I just have to commit to, like, book hand and popcorn
Mhm.
hand,
Yeah.
and it just
Yes.
is what
Yes.
it is. But that and, it's very basic, but pretzels. I really like pretzels in general,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Pretzels are so good.
like a good pretzel rod.
Ooh, I like the rods with Nutella on the side. You just, like, dunk the rod in the Nutella. So good.
That's real good. I haven't had Nutella in forever.
I know, I just got back into it recently after the, like, 2014 Nutella phase that everyone had, like, the world had. But
It's
I
so
yeah,
true.
it was like people had, like, Nutella printed shirts, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens, like, that happened years ago too for sriracha.
Mm,
All of a sudden, people had sriracha shirts and
right.
sriracha Crocs, and
Oh my gosh,
society goes through weird phases.
it really does.
Now, are there any, movies or shows that are fall related that you're looking forward to?
Oh my goodness. one of my other favorite topics. Autumn cinema. Um, so yes, one of the things one of my favorite things is making Halloween movie lists. I I went to film school and initially my thesis was going to be making the perfect Halloween movie before I chose to do like a Greek myth movie thing. But yes, Halloween movies. I'm excited to rewatch Death Becomes Her. I rewatch that every year. Um, it has Meryl Streep in it, and it's like the
Yes.
perfect like femme zombie movie kind of because they kind of are zombies. Um, and the spooky vibes in that one are really good too. TV show wise, I just for the first time ever started watching Vampire Diaries because I heard it was autumn, and I'm not super loving it, but I am trying it. I watched I think it's called Haunted Hotel on Netflix. It's like a adult animated series.
I watched the first couple episodes of that. It was great.
It's so good. That especially in October, that is like going to be one of the perfect Halloween TV shows, I think.
Yeah, I had to stop myself because I was like, I will watch. I think there's 10 episodes. I was like, I will
Yeah,
watch all of them today. So let me
I know.
stop after three.
Yeah, we split it up ourselves too because we were like, we will eat this in one night.
Yeah, that's such a good one. I've been trying to get my daughter to watch Beetlejuice 2 with me.
Ooh, I love Beetlejuice too.
I haven't seen it yet. Her favorite thing is really, really bad horror movies. Like
Yeah.
as low budget as possible.
I support that so hard. I had a professor who was really into that, and literally I just had a whole semester of watching really bad horror movies. Like one of them was like Frankenhooker. I'm not sure if you've seen that one.
I haven't.
I recommend it. It's actually a really good movie, but it's so bad. It's so
We
bad.
One of her favorites, I think it was called Birdemic.
Oh my
There's like
god.
3 of them, and it is the worst special effects for birds ever, and it is not thinly veiled at all that the whole movie is just the director's very strong feelings about climate change. Like,
Perfect.
somehow climate change has caused these birds to just start killing people.
Oh my god. I love
It's
that.
so bad, and there's some really terrible, like, songs in it. And, like, for over a year, she would just sing parts of, like, from the first one, and then we saw the second, and I think there's a third even, and they're so bad. Or any type of, shark movie.
Mm.
We watched
Sharknado
one about
fan?
sharks that were in a lake killing people. Super low budget, but it had, oh, I forget his name, but he played the Russian boxer in Rocky 4, the, very 80s looking blonde guy.
Uh-huh.
He
Uh-huh.
was in it, and it was so bad.
That's incredible.
They're
I if
so
I
much fun to watch, though.
if I were to give her a recommendation, I would say Llamageddon.
Oh, I'll have to look that up.
It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and I mean that as a compliment. Like,
I
it's
I
horrific.
love I love bad movies. They're so fun.
Mhm. They really are. Like, sure, I'll enjoy, like, a classic, like Casablanca, whatever, but also Frankenhooker. Like, I need bad movies are so good, and I think the people who produce bad movies are really passionate about that movie and about, like, the inspiration and their actual craft, whereas a lot of, like, Hollywood films, it's like, "Oh, we're business executives making a movie," and with movies that are horrific, it's, like, just a bunch of people who are really passionate about this really bad movie, and I you can just,
Yeah.
like, see it through it, and I love it.
Yeah, the more mainstream movies are kinda, like, formulaic, like,
Sure.
they know what's gonna sell, and that's why there's so many remakes of things,
Yeah.
and it's like some of these bad movies are kind of like we were talking about with indie authors, where it's like you're gonna see ideas that would not make it into big productions.
Yes. Yes. Like like Sharknado. Like, sharks in a tornado.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
it
No
is.
exec is gonna sign off on that, but it's incredible.
And I look back to when I was a kid, and it was like I think I watched some movies that I really enjoyed that ended up being movies that people considered terrible. Like, what was it called? Tremors with Kevin Bacon, where there was like the giant underground like worm things eating people. Like it looks like the sandworm from Dune, but in like a early '90s, not great CGI.
That's so incredible. I feel like with movies that were made like before the early 2000s, that watching them now on our TVs that exist now and on streaming services, you don't get like the real charm of the CGI. Because if you like get a VHS of the same movie and watch it on like a VCR, the CGI almost sells it a lot of the time because you're not looking at like 8 ultra HD 8K whatever, and the like grain from the VHS just like sells
Yeah,
the
and I
CGI.
think they used a lot more practical effects back then
Yes,
too, and a lot of times they were bad, but I think bad practical effects look better than bad CGI.
absolutely. There's like life to it, to a really
Yeah.
bad practical effect.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I think CGI has just become the cheaper option, so that's what
Yeah.
every movie goes with, and I feel like they
Mhm.
kind of do start to all look the same in
Oh,
that sense.
absolutely. Yeah. Like if we look back at like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies when they first came out, the one they did use a ton more practical effects and their CGI use was limited, but it looked incredible. Even like in the remastered versions that we see on like Disney Plus today, it still looks like really good solid CGI, especially like the third movie. And then if we see CGI that was produced like today, like in 2025, a lot of times it looks worse than those movies
It
because they're
does.
just like cheaping out on everything and
Yep.
not even like the CGI artist union has been happening, and yeah, it's very complex.
Yeah, that is super valid. It does somehow look worse, which is such a bummer.
I know. And I'm worried how like generative AI is going to affect CGI and just kind of like totally tank a lot of the artists in there because producers will be like, well, I can just type in a prompt and get this zombie, and it's like he looks soulless in the worst possible way.
Yeah. I worry a ton about how AI is going to affect both books and movies.
Hmm.
Like, I
Hmm.
think we already have started seeing some of that in the bookish space, especially with covers,
Oh my
like
god.
book covers, and
Yeah.
it's tough because I do get that a lot of like when you're an independent author, you're doing all of the jobs yourself and you're paying for it out of pocket, but it's like,
Of
oof.
course. I would rather
There
see
are
someone slap a Canva graphic together for a cover than like a weird AI cover where nothing kind of like connects properly.
well, so I just saw someone criticizing the AI filter that people are using now where it
Yeah, the ghost face
shows
one.
you, yeah, the ghost face one, yeah. And in the comment sections, I loved it. This woman was like, "This took 2 minutes in Canva," and she made like a very cheesy looking edit of Ghostface behind. She was sitting on her couch reading a book, and she put Ghostface behind her, like, and it does. It looks very cheesy, but it's supposed to.
Right.
And she's like, "This took
Exactly.
literally 2 to 3 minutes in Canva. Come on, people."
Literally bring back bad photoshopping. Like
Yeah,
in the like early 2010s, everyone was doing really bad photoshopping, but it was
yep.
incredible. Like now people are just like, "Oh, I'll use AI for this." And I'm like, "No, bring back PixArt." Like we need to be making bad Photoshop again.
I was talking to who was it? It was my cousin, and she sent me some website that looked really old. And I was like, you know what? I kind of miss really bad websites too, where
Yeah.
everyone had their own website and they were all like not coded well. And the formatting was like kind of wanky,
Mhm.
but there was something to that. Like it was
It
cool.
is. It's human. Like you can
Yeah,
see like, yeah, this person knows nothing about website design, but it's endearing that a human made this.
but
Whereas it's like
they were very
soulless.
passionate about whatever the topic was.
Exactly.
Like it
Exactly.
might have been their horse, which I know nothing about, but it's like they're super passionate about it, and
Oh,
they don't
absolutely.
they don't care if the website looks ugly. They're gonna get all that information out to you.
Yes. I when I was doing like research projects in college or whatever, and I'd find some um like graduate students research website that just looks like absolute ass, but their information and sources are really good. I was like, you know what? Hell yeah, this is great.
Yeah, there's something to that, and I do think that I had a guest on the podcast too. We were discussing how there seems to be a shift where people are wanting to go more analog with things.
Yes,
And
yes.
I'm a big proponent of this. Like I love my paper journal with my fountain pen. I have
Mhm.
multiple fountain pens and I find excuses to use them for different purposes, but there's something so satisfying about actually doing things. And I do think and hope that the world's kind of shifting that way. It's because I used to have a journaling app on my phone and I didn't stick with it because it's just
Right.
not that you don't get the same um kind of feedback from what you're doing.
Yeah, I journal a ton as well, and I also used to be a journal app guy, but once I started like writing it down with like a pen on the paper, it just like feels a lot more like releasing of it because at the end of the day you get to close your book and put it back on your desk or wherever, and that's where those thoughts and ramblings live instead of just like in the ether of your phone.
Yeah. And I think my guest, she made a good point too, where she pointed out the fact that most of what we do is on our phone,
Right.
and to our brain, the feedback we're getting is just touching a screen. So
Hmm.
whether you are typing or consuming media, anything that we're doing on our phone, the feedback is the same to our brain because it's just our finger touching a screen.
That's a
Where and I
really incredible point. I love
Yeah,
that.
she said that, and I've been thinking about it for months because it's so true. Because it's like it's not it's not the same as holding a pen and writing on paper, and the sound that a pen makes scraping the page, and just the look of it. And I do think that you are getting more out of your brain when you put it on paper.
Yes, I completely agree. And like analog media, specifically like music wise, like I remember as a kid like getting my first CD. It was an Ali and AJ CD when they were on Disney Channel. Very very fun for a kid. But like nowadays, you just like hit the download button on Spotify and you're like, oh, I can go find that later. Whereas
Yeah,
like when you get like one of your first CDs as a kid, you're like, oh my gosh, I have this album of music I can listen to and I have it in my hands and I can hold it. And like Spotify is not going to rip it away from me if I forget to pay my monthly payment or something.
yeah. Well, it's like I think back to when I was 14, which was a long time ago. But I'm from a very small town, and we had one CD store, one
Mm,
and it was like in the basement of a building. And I specifically remember getting out of school, walking downtown to get Eminem's first album when it came out. And it's
nice.
like I still vividly remember that, like so excited to go get that, then walk home and put it in the CD player. And it really isn't like now you go to Apple Music or Spotify and it's just there. I've actually
Exactly.
been I've been considering getting an iPod again.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know. I
I
was like talking to my dad to see if somewhere like in his house we had like one of my old iPods that I used or like MP3 player. It's just I like having it's nice to have different devices for different things, even though that was the original point of your phone was to like take all of these like six or seven different devices into one thing. But it's you just get lost in there and it's good to have things like separated again.
Yeah, I've found with myself, like I'm trying to, because I went years without having a computer because
Mm,
I didn't need one because you can do most things on a phone.
sure.
But it's like that's where I found myself like, no, I need to go sit down and do this on the computer. Like, let me check my email on a computer versus just on my phone. Like separating the things is good. And I've did a little bit of digging and TikTok, and people are like into modding old iPods
Oh my god, that's so
where
sick.
you can for pretty cheap now, you can get rid of the hard drive and just go to like a micro SD card. So it's
Oh,
like
nice.
endless memory options, and then you can put a USB-C charger port into it, so it plugs into all of the things you already have. And I was like, that seems kind of fun. I miss making playlists, and I miss
Yes. Yes.
like
Yes.
it. It's such a lost art, burning
It really
CDs.
is. It absolutely is. I recently, like within the last couple years, got really into burning CDs again because my friends and I do a lot of like road trips that involve like being in the middle of nowhere where you don't have access to like streaming music. So we'll
Yeah,
all get together and like make our own little playlists and like make little collage covers for our CD cases. And it's just so much more special to have it like that.
it is. And I think back to, it was like before you went out on a weekend, like you would make a new CD for like whatever the vibe of that event was going to be.
Mm,
Whether it was just like if you were going to a party or if like you were going to the beach, like, and you could just make a mix that just like set the vibes for that.
I love that so much. I know. I miss all of that. I'm one of the first like music memories I have was getting a CD at someone's birthday party as like a party favor, and it was like all the songs that they played at the party, and it was so fun. It was it's yeah, bring back mixtapes.
That's actually such a cool idea.
Who's your
Simba.
cat?
This is
Simba?
Simba. Yeah, he is always invading the
Oh
podcast.
yeah.
He's the true star.
Is he orange?
He's like a blonde
Blonde,
boy.
blondish.
Yeah.
I have two of my own, and usually when I'm filming stuff like this, my orange boy will come and put his butt directly in front of the camera, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, don't look."
Yeah, he very specifically tries to knock over my microphone. And then we have he has a sister Nala. We got them when my daughter was 3, so very into the
Oh,
Lion King. So
very cute.
we had, yeah, Nala and Simba. Don't, no,
Cat.
don't knock over.
She's like,
Not the laptop.
Yep. I
Let's
have
leave that one
like
alone.
bite marks in the corners of my laptop
Oh,
from my cat just like trying to like hole punch through my screen.
yeah, they're good at that.
Hmm.
The time has flown by. We're already almost an hour into this. I usually try
I
and keep
know.
these to about an hour. But before we do go, do you have like maybe like a top 5 fall book recs that we could send people to check out?
Yes, I can do that. So, one of my tops from this year is called The Late Night Witches by Oralee Wallace. It follows a mom who comes into her witchcraft powers and finds out that basically it is her job in the month of October to train to be a witch to save her whole island from this like master vampire while also juggling like being a mom and like soccer practice and that kind of thing. And it was so incredible. I loved that one so much. I also Pumpkin Spice and Poltergeist by Allie K. Mulford and K.L. Morrison. That is a pardon. That was a sapphic witchcraft book that takes place in like basically Halloween Town from like the Disney Halloween Town movies.
Oh,
It
nice.
was incredible. One of my favorite cozy mysteries for the season is Caught Dead Handed by Carol J. Perry. That one would definitely be for fans of like late night horror hosts like Elvira and that kind of thing. The main character is like a journalist and a TV reporter, but ends up having to fill in for a horror host and like develop a persona. It's so much fun.
That does sound
Um,
fun.
Let me see. Lastly, I I'm gonna recommend Immortal Dark by Tigges Skirma. That is a dark academia vampire novel. It takes place basically in like the fall semester of a college at a vampire university that also lets humans come to the university. And like the house that they live in is alive, and there's all these secret societies that you have to delve into and discover. And it is just one of my favorite books of all time. So, yes, those are my 5 fall recs.
I think that one is on my fall menu, actually.
It
I've been
should
doing
be.
my fall reading. I've been doing a TBR mug.
Oh, nice.
So
That's
I
so
just
sick.
I think I got like 26 titles that I
Mm,
put in here, and I'm just letting fate decide my reading list.
yes. Yeah, I remember. I think you were working on that on live last week or something.
Yes, I was. Yep. And I'm currently in the middle of reading it with my cousin.
Oh,
She's read it before. I have not. So that's gonna eat up a good amount of time. That's a chunky book.
it is.
So like
I
I
like
had to.
wood, but it's huge.
Yeah, I read like 200 pages years ago,
Hmm.
and I stopped not because I didn't DNF it. It just like life
Sure.
happened and I forgot
Yeah.
about it. But it's one of those ones where I've always wanted to read it, kind of just to like say that I have. It seems
Yeah.
like one of the Stephen King books you have to read if you're going to go through his work.
Right. Right. Definitely.
one of my top recs for people, for this time of year is actually Salem's Lot by Stephen King. I think that book gets overlooked a lot.
That
It's
one's on my
very
TBR for this fall.
it's very, like, slow burn, lots of build up. Um, like, the action is like, there's plenty of action too, but it's like you really kind of, um, get held off on that. Like, there's teases of what's gonna happen, but you
Mm.
really sit with the characters and get to know them, and you really feel like you're in small town Maine. And then once things get crazy, it's, like, way more impactful because you feel so connected to not only the characters, but the town.
I love that so much. Do you recommend any of the movie adaptations of that as well?
You know, I watched the new one that came out last year, and people
Mhm.
hated it.
Right.
And I had a good time with it. I think it messed up the pacing because it didn't do the slow burn. It kind of like it showed its cards too quickly, in my opinion. But I think it was fun. And
That's
I
important too.
the was from the 80s, I think. I haven't
Right.
seen that in a long, long time, but I think that that one was more closely um paced like the book.
Yeah, I hear that one's like 2.5-ish hours.
Yeah. And it's I mean it's a fun story. I mean it's vampires and it's like classic vampire. Um, it's very scary once it gets scary,
Mhm.
but it's I feel like it's not gory. It's not a lot of like attempts at anything like a jump scare. Like it's just
Mhm.
good characters and a lot of build up.
Well, now I'm bumping that up because I'm very excited to read that now.
Yeah, I feel like that one gets overlooked a lot because most
Yeah,
people they go right to like The Shining or Pet Cemetery, which are both those are great too.
sure.
But I think there's something I think Salem's Lot's a good one.
Yes.
Simba.
He wants attention.
Yeah, he does. Now, you have do you have a Bookstagram account as well that I can link to? Because I'll make sure to put in the episode description. I'll link to your TikTok. And do you have any other social media?
Yes, so my Bookstagram account is also at Italian Witch Books, and then I do YouTube as well, and that's just under I think Abe Frank on there, where I do like long form cozy content.
Okay, so I'll make sure to link to all of those. And then, do you have an Etsy as well?
Oh yes, I forgot about that. That one is called Italian Witch Co. I just have done like two little craft markets recently with my stuff has been so fun. Um, that has like bookmarks, stickers, kind of like everything you would want to make a perfect like cozy book experience.
Very nice. Okay, I'll make sure to link to that as well. And thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me. I've had so much fun.
This was a lot of fun, and thank you everybody for taking a little bit of time out of your week to join me again on Books and Beyond. If you could just hit the like button, maybe share this with someone that's looking for fun fall vibes, really helps the algorithm, and I will see you guys next week.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, please.